Texas A&M beats Alabama. What does this mean for college football as a whole this year? I know a lot of people. There have been a lot of people saying this feels like a 2007 type year where just things go nuts. I mean, that year you had Kansas was number 2, South Florida was number 2, Boston College got up to number 2, Cal climbed the rankings, Missouri was number 1. What else happened that year? But the year ended with LSU and Ohio State, 2 powers. And for a long time this year was the thought was like, okay, we're going to have some fun. Those last 2 playoff spots are going to be an interesting race, but it's going to be Alabama and Georgia at the end. Now, it very well still could be, because if Alabama runs the table, rolls the rest of their schedule, and then beats Georgia and Atlanta, they'll be in a playoff. But this eliminates their any room for error. But now with them losing, it's pretty clear right now Georgia's the number 1 team, and then it's just a whole bunch of, yeah, I guess they're good. Like, I guess Iowa's good. I think Cincinnati's pretty good. They went and beat Notre Dame. Oklahoma, I don't know what Oklahoma is at this point. Ohio State's getting better. I think they have enough games. They still got to play Michigan State, Penn State, and Michigan, and probably a Big Ten title game against Iowa. So they're going to have a chance to rack up some wins here, and if they run the table, they're going to be in. Alabama and Ohio State both control their destiny, but it's just going to be interesting. And if you're Cincy and you go undefeated and you have a win over Notre Dame, I don't know how you should just, the group of 5 should just leave the NCAA. Oh, Kentucky beating Georgia next week would be amazing. No offense to Georgia fans out there, but as a fan of chaos after tonight, Kentucky winning next week, you'd see some chaos. You would probably have Iowa number 1. If you look at Iowa's schedule, they're not going to lose a game unless Wisconsin beats them at home, which, yeah, we'll see. There'd be craziness. And Kentucky, yeah, if Kentucky wins next week, who do they have the rest of the year? They still got to play Vanderbilt. Kentucky would have to lose 2 SEC games for Georgia to make it back. So let's say they beat Georgia. They would have to lose 2 games of Tennessee or Mississippi State, Tennessee, Vanderbilt. They'd have to lose 2 of those, and they're not losing to Vanderbilt. So they'd have to lose to Tennessee at home and at Mississippi State. So yeah, that would be. You'd probably see Kentucky in the SEC title game if they win next week, which would be fun. They'd probably get whipped, but it would be fun. It's fun to watch Mark Stoops with a quarterback who can throw, because it was. Oh God, what was that kid's? Terry Wilson for a few years there, and then Joey Gatewood came in, and it was just a mess. And I don't think quarterback they have now is that great, but he can throw the forward pass, and Wan'Dale Robinson's incredible. Nebraska's really missing him right now. Oregon still has a shot. Losing CJ Verdell is going to hurt a lot. But yeah, they were on the table in the Pac-12. They and with Bama's loss today, yeah, they definitely still have a shot. No, it's probably Iowa. It's probably Iowa. Tennessee owns Kentucky. Yeah, except for last year. What was that Kentucky team, like number 12 in the country in 2018? They play the Vols and just got decimated. The ACC is terrible. Yeah, I think the ACC is done. The ACC is probably done with unless Wake Forest or NC State. Oh no, NC State already lost a game. Unless Wake Forest goes undefeated, yeah, they're done. And the Pac-12 is hanging on by a thread. Howdy Hypel is rowdy in the chat tonight. Iowa doesn't even play football. I mean, they play football that LSU and Alabama played 10 years ago, just not with as much talent. And they don't play teams with as much talent. You're hoping Iowa loses next weekend? Who do they even play? Like they're in the Big Ten West. Their schedule probably stinks. It does stink moving out, but who do they play next week? Purdue. Yeah, they got Purdue, then a bye week at Wisconsin, at Northwestern, Minnesota, Illinois. At Nebraska is probably their toughest game. And yeah, I don't think they're losing any of those. Yeah, Texas. I mean, you got to give props to A&M's performance tonight. I don't think. I don't know how I want to phrase this. Yeah, it definitely does. I didn't blame them too much for that Colorado game, just because, like I talked about, when you have a game plan set for one quarterback and his skill and his strengths, and then you flip it and they have to go with this guy, it's going to be much more difficult. But he didn't look good against Arkansas. He didn't look good. And Arkansas defenses under Barry Odom are pretty good against weaker offenses. But then you saw Ole Miss running up on them. Bama last year ran it up on them. Mizzou last year ran it up on them. So good offenses can kind of dust that defense, and they didn't. But yeah, it takes time, and they have a good stable of running backs. They have a great tight end. They did an excellent job tonight. Yeah, that's a team. Look, I'm not any happier about Iowa than you are. I mean, I don't know about Kentucky. Kentucky hasn't been 6-0 since 1960, I think is when I saw. They haven't been 6-0, and they're rarely any good. So, look, I didn't schedule the Big Ten. Howdy, Hypo. I know you're trying to get me bad, but you're making me laugh really hard tonight, and I love it. Chicken tenders. Oh, man. That's funny. I mean, yeah, they have to beat like Purdue, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. They'll be okay. Chat's lively tonight. I love this. But anyway. Oh my God. Texas A&M knocks off Alabama. Talked about. I'm just reading your guys' comments. All right, let me focus. So let's talk. We can continue talking more about the SEC, Alabama's game tonight. What's going to happen moving forward? I'm going to keep reading your guys' comments because they're making me laugh.